Every night, it began at exactly 2:17 a.m. The first knock was always gentle, almost polite, as if someone was unsure whether to disturb me. But the second knock? Louder. Aggressive. Like whoever stood behind the door wanted me awake. They succeeded. Every single night. I'd open the door to nothing but darkness. Silence that felt staged. The streetlights flickered like they were part of the routine. Every corner of the neighborhood felt complicit, as though the entire place was watching me. And minutes later, right on cue, police sirens would echo through the street. The first few times, I was confused. I thought it had to be some misunderstanding. A lost visitor, a prank, maybe kids. But the officers told me someone reported suspicious activity at my property. Every time, they said the same thing: an anonymous caller had concerns. Yet someone was always there watching when the police arrived. That someone was Elena Marlowe, president of the HOA. Her timing was unnatural. She showed up before the police even finished their initial questions. Always smiling. Always calm. Always talking to the officers like she knew them personally. Like she owned them. "You understand," she said one night, "we just want to keep the neighborhood safe." But there was something unsettling about the way her voice lingered, something too smooth, too practiced. The streetlights cast shadows over her sharp features. Her eyes didn't show concern. They showed curiosity. Interest. Almost fascination. I didn't trust her. But she never gave me a reason I could prove. Not yet. So I played along. Nodded. Acted agreeable. But inside, I made a quiet vow: I would know why this was happening. Days passed. But 2:17 a.m. remained inevitable. By the sixth time the police came, I no longer bothered explaining myself. The officers seemed tired too, but still kept coming. Until one of them, softly, almost apologetically, said, "You should talk to your HOA president. She's been filing these complaints." That changed everything. It wasn't random. It wasn't neighborhood concern. It was her. I spent the next day pretending to clean my porch while watching her house. Elena watched me back. She wasn't afraid to maintain eye contact. In fact, she seemed amused. As if she knew that I finally figured out the first piece of her game. But her smile stayed, too calm for an innocent person. That's when I installed the cameras. Not the usual ones anyone could spot. I hid them, wired them behind walls, embedded them in porch lanterns, fixed them in mailbox corners. She had been watching me. But now, I would watch her. The first night after installing them, the knock didn't come. Neither did the police. She knew. Somehow, she knew. But on the second night, 2:17 returned like a ritual. This time, the knock was firm, controlled. Like it belonged to someone executing a task. The doorbell rang once. Then again. I didn't open it. I just listened. Through the hidden speaker, I heard faint footsteps walking away. The sirens arrived later than usual. She arrived sooner. But that night, for the first time, I wasn't scared. I was ready. Because I didn't just have a front door anymore. I had eyes. I had proof. And after weeks of being the hunted, I felt something unexpected for the first time. Rain started falling around midnight, tapping against the windows like it was trying to send a message. I sat in the dark, reviewing the footage frame by frame. In just 19 days, I had captured 5 separate officers taking instructions from Elena Marlowe. She never appeared on camera giving orders directly, only subtle gestures, slight nods, finger snaps, and eye signals. But they followed every cue. It wasn't just influence. It was control. She wasn't respected. She was obeyed. The HOA files told an even darker truth. 97 reports had been filed against me within 3 months. 97 attempts to make me look unstable. 97 efforts to push me out. All from her. But knowing she was behind it didn't explain everything. There were gaps in motive. No financial angle. No property dispute. Nothing obvious. So why me? The question scratched at me like a locked door I couldn't open. That night, the rain grew heavier. Thunder rolled over the neighborhood like warning drums. I stayed up, waiting. No knocks. No sirens. No police. Only silence and storm. Until I heard 3 soft taps on the door. Not at 2:17 a.m., but at 1:04. The wrong time. Out of pattern. I checked the camera feed, it was her. I opened the door slowly. She wasn't smiling. Her hair was wet from the rain. She stood without an umbrella. No officers behind her, no neighbors watching. Just her. Her voice trembled, but not from fear. From restraint. I could make it all stop, she told me. Her presence felt different. Not aggressive. Not defensive. It felt confessional. My instinct was to demand answers. But I didn't. Something about her quiet desperation held me still. She stepped closer, not inside, but just out of the rain. She asked if I was recording. I didn't answer. She took that as a yes. For a moment, she stayed silent. The thunder filled in the space between us. Then she spoke in a voice softer than any I'd heard from her before. I did it because you watched me, she said. I didn't understand. I thought she meant the cameras. But then her eyes searched mine like she was looking for something she had once lost. She didn't move any closer, but somehow I felt her presence inside the room already. In my space. Under my skin. She wasn't threatening me. She was telling me she saw something in me, something familiar. You're not normal, she whispered. And neither am I. Every instinct told me to step back, to shut the door. But I stayed there. The storm outside made everything feel like a confession between worlds. Her voice grew unsteady, as though she fought to maintain control. I filed those reports because I knew you wouldn't leave. Most people would. But you didn't. You see things. You study people. Like I do. She lifted her eyes to mine. That moment felt like a crime, like a vow, like a warning. I couldn't categorize it. I couldn't even breathe properly. Then she asked the question I wasn't ready to hear. The morning after her visit, I didn't sleep. I watched the footage again. Not the surveillance videos. The conversation at the door. The way she stood in the rain, the tremor in her breath, the steady control in her posture. There was no doubt anymore, this wasn't just harassment. It was fixation. But not just hers. I had begun to study her in the same way she studied me. Not like a victim. Not like a detective. More like a mirror. 3 days passed with no knocks and no sirens. The silence felt heavier than the noise ever did. I expected peace to feel like relief, but it didn't. It felt like withdrawal. I kept checking the cameras anyway. I kept expecting her to return. And on the 4th night, she did. But it wasn't just her. It was 3 officers with her, no emergency lights, no sirens. Just quiet and calculated movement. They didn't approach the door. They surrounded the property. She stood outside my gate, staring calmly into the camera, straight at me. That night, I knew it was time. I gathered the footage, printed every timestamp, labeled every pattern. I didn't go to the police. I went to CID directly. I handed them everything. They listened. They analyzed. They told me I had done enough. They would take it from there. But as I walked out of the office, one detective stopped me and asked, "Why did you wait so long?" I didn't know how to answer that. The next evening, unmarked cars arrived in the neighborhood. They didn't knock. They moved with precision. Surveillance turned into a raid. And for the first time, the light that came through my window wasn't from police headlights, but CID flashlights. They approached her door. She didn't run. Didn't argue. Didn't scream. She just asked, "Is he the one who gave you the footage?" They confirmed it. When they led her out in handcuffs, her eyes searched for my window like she knew I was watching. And she was right. The officers guiding her didn't see what I saw. Behind the calm expression, behind the acceptance of arrest, there was a look that I felt more than understood. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't regret. It was possession. As the car door closed, she turned just enough for the camera to capture her final words. No panic. No anger. Just a whisper, delivered like a secret meant only for me, "You put me in chains, but I still live inside you." I thought justice would feel like victory. But at that moment, all I felt was her absence. The neighborhood grew quiet. The air felt still. The game had ended, but something darker remained. The cameras were no longer surveillance. Now, they were memories. Proof of something that existed between us, something that shouldn't have grown, but did. I replayed the audio every night. Not to analyze it. Not to build a case. But to remember the sound of her voice. And I finally understood why I waited so long to turn her in.